This episode of Linux Action Show is brought to you by GoDaddy.com.
And by Ting.com. Head over to last.ting.com and save $25 off your first device.
And welcome to the Linux Action Show. My name is Chris.
My name is Matt.
This is Season 27, Episode 4. Good morning to you, Matt.
Morning, morning, morning.
All right, I got to tell everybody about the big show. Are you ready?
I'm all set.
Coming up, and this might be a little more relevant to a lot of you all of a sudden, we're going to tell you how to keep your privacy safe and secure using some of the best tools on Linux. Now, a lot of you are familiar with some of the traditional things like TrueCrypt and home drive encryption, but we've got a lot of other great tools we're going to recommend, things that'll help you communicate securely, some new open source projects that are on their way up that you're going to want to keep your eye on, and all kinds of stuff. Then in the /Etsy, we're going to give away some more Steam games, and in the feedback segment, we're going to follow up a little more on our week in Arch, cover some hard questions, and then we've got a challenging question for the community.
Good stuff.
2 different open source projects were started in the last couple of weeks around a request made on this show.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
We'll talk about those as well. And then in the news segment, we're going to talk about the big news for Cinnamon, some big news for Garrys Mod, and a few other things. So huge show.
Big show.
Big show.
Big show.
First up, it is our picks this week, and our first pick is the Runs Linux. And this one made the subreddit. I had to go with it. I love supercomputer stories.
Yes.
The Chinese supercomputer that's destroying speed records and is planning to get much faster runs Linux. So this is a Chinese supercomputer known as the Taiyin 2.
Wow, okay.
It's measured currently at 30.65 petaflops.
Now, is that an actual image of the supercomputer that we are looking at?
I think so.
That looks very Tron-y.
Yes, it is.
It looks very cool, very high-end.
I have seen that image used in multiple articles. I believe that is actually it. Yeah.
Kind of
the speed is, here's what's, okay, so first of all, it's 30.65 petaflops. That's 74% faster than the current holder of the world's fastest supercomputer. And this is running Linux, right?
Yeah.
What's more remarkable about that is because it's an Intel-based system, which is awesome. And it's not even running at full capacity during their testing.
Whoa.
They only have 14,000 of the 16,000 compute nodes, or only 90% of the machine clocked in at the aforementioned 30.65 petaflops.
Wow, that's wild.
They think it has a theoretical peak performance of 54.9 petaflops.
Well, I think the speculation makes it even more ominous because we really don't know. I mean, this thing could be doing all kinds of stuff.
Well, yeah, they say it's. They say somewhere here it'll provide an open platform for research and education, and provide high performance computing for southern China.
Yeah, kind of like we do over here with our 3-letter agencies.
Yeah.
I believe you.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you think NSA, you're going to have a good data center in Utah?
Yeah.
Well, let me show you.
They got a little contest going back and forth. They know what's up. Yeah.
Yeah, so this week, there's been a lot of big news stories broken, and obviously they're not really the focus of this show. But high-performance data centers were sort of topical this week, so that was one of the great reasons I went with the Chinese supercomputer.
Very cool.
And Ars Technica had a great write-up, and we'll have a link to this in the show notes if you want. I think it's pretty crazy that I think the way this system works is it is a series of a lot of different computers combined, and they consider each computer a node, and that's where they get the number 14,336 nodes. So that means there's 14,336 separate.
It's kind of like if you had a room full of Furbies and they're all running Linux and you like network them together. I mean, basically,
what if you did a Beowulf cluster of Furbies?
It's been done.
Maybe that could be a supercomputer.
That would be very
of its own kind.
Of its own flavor.
Well, I got a super deal I want to talk about before we move on to our other picks, because the Android pick this week is going to be great, and then the desktop pick, it's a hall of shame we've never made this our pick before.
Yeah, we should be. Well, we should be scolded.
Yeah. So we will right that wrong momentarily. But first, I want to thank GoDaddy.com, longtime sponsors of the Linux Action Show. When you're over at GoDaddy.com, use the code Linux249 when you check out and get a .com for $2.49. Not only has GoDaddy been a sponsor of our shows for forever, but also I have used GoDaddy forever because as someone who has been embroiled in technical debt, as we like to call it on the Coder Radio Show, where you walk into a place, you're like, hey, okay, I'm here to take over your IT systems. Oh, your old IT guy's gone? Okay. Oh, your domain's expiring next week? Okay, where did you register that?
Or it expired yesterday and it's on the market. That's my favorite.
Oh, crazy hole-in-the-wall domain name registrar.com, huh? Okay, yeah, we'll get this fixed. And when I walk in, they're like, oh, yeah, we have it over at GoDaddy. I'm like, sweet, we have this handled. Yeah, GoDaddy's the world's #1 domain name registrar. They are the industry standard. I put all of my customers on GoDaddy, and their administrative panel makes that super easy to do. That way I can grant them access, or they can grant me access. I can buy under their account for them. It's all managed by them and under their control the entire time. It's awesome for small businesses. It's awesome for yourself. Use the code Linux249 when you check out to get a .com for $2.49.
Gotta love that.
I believe it works on the transfers as well, Matt. Or
Ooh.
if you just want to do something else, maybe getting some hosting, maybe getting a search.
Works.
Use the code use the code 35 off too, because 35 for 35%.
35 off 2.
35%, whatever's in your cart. It's your first order. It's the first time you've bought something on that account. Bob's your uncle. You're taking 35%.
Buy it in bulk. Buy it in bulk.
And don't forget, Danica requests use the code See that? That's Danica, right? You see her on the
I'm liking it. She's clearly shaking her head. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the
I feel comfortable because she's overseeing what we're doing.
She is overseeing.
It's very comforting.
Making sure Danica's watching you to make sure you use the codes. Thanks to GoDaddy for sponsoring the Linux Action Show, and thanks to you guys for keeping our sponsors happy so they keep supporting us and keep us on the air.
That's right.
All right, Matt, my pick for Android this week is called Orbot.
Orbot.
And it's a proxy with Tor. And think of this as not a means to an end itself, but think of this as an enabler for you to use Tor inside other applications. So I'm firing it up here on my phone.
Oh, looks cool.
Yeah, and you see you've got a power button right there in the middle, and if you press and hold this power button, it begins to connect to the Tor services. And you see I've got a little log down there at the bottom.
Well, what I like about it more than anything is where do I hit the button? Gee, the big thing in the center, right? I mean, it's like so easy to use.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
Like, oh my God.
And then so you can see that it's connected to the Tor network.
That's cool.
Okay, so at this point, my phone itself, unless you are rooted, then you actually can. But my phone itself is not sending any traffic to Tor.
Okay.
This is just connected a proxy on my phone to the Tor network. Now I can fire up other applications like a browser that's been called like or web that is already pre-configured to go through a Tor proxy application. And there's several things on the Android Play Store. There's some chat programs, there's other web browsers, there's a note program that are all configured to support this
Well, I like the congratulations screen, too,
Yeah.
so you know that you're set up properly. You don't have to guess.
Yeah, so that, of course, the letters are green, so they probably won't show up on camera. But what it does is there's a Tor page that you can go to verify you're on Tor, and so that's the home page of this browser. And so if I were to turn off my Tor proxy in that other app, then I would no longer be on the Tor network in that browser.
I gotcha.
So you can turn it on, turn it off, so you can jump on, do something you need. It's a great way if you're at somewhere where you're not really sure if they're monitoring what you're doing, or if you want your communications to be private. It's very simple, and the fact that this application then enables a whole suite of other applications to use Tor is very awesome. And if your device is rooted, you can actually configure all of the traffic on your phone to route through Tor.
I like that. I think if you're on a questionable network, that would just be ideal too.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely something to do when you're on public Wi-Fi.
Yeah, coffee shops and such.
There's going to be inherent speed delays when you're going through the Tor network, but if your privacy is important, it's probably worth it.
Looks good to me. I'm going to install that.
There you go. So that's Orbot and Orbot proxy with Tor, free in the Android App Store. And we will have a link to it. It's put out by a group. I'm totally drawing up the Guardian Project.
Well, and I like the little logo guy. I mean, he looks like an onion Cylon or garlic Cylon looking dude. It's kind of neat.
The Guardian Project has a whole suite of tools that are designed to help people with their privacy.
Cool.
Yeah, very nice. So
I'm appreciating that.
Yeah. All right, guys. That's that. Now we have a bunch of tools that are very privacy focused in the latter half of the show. So first, we're gonna right or wrong. Matt and I went to Vlogger Fair yesterday.
We did.
And we were in the car, and we got onto the topic of Quake Terminal.
That's right.
And we're like, no, that's been a pick. And Matt's like, no, I don't think it has. And I'm like, Matt, there's no way the Linux Action Show has not picked Quake. Well, it turns out I did a whole site search, and we have not done Quake Terminal. Now, there's a few other alternatives, and I think where I got confused is I did cover a KDE one. There's a one that's similar to Quake for KDE.
Sure.
When I did my couple of weeks on KDE. So the Quake Terminal, you're probably familiar with it. I want to tell you about another one, too. If you're on the GNOME 3 shell. The GNOME 3 shell, Matt.
The GNOME 3 shell.
There's an extension called Drop-Down Terminal.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Similar thing. I hit the little tilde key, and the terminal drops down at the top
Yeah, it
of my
does look
screen.
a lot like it.
Yeah. And it's integrated nice, and I always run glances in here. So whatever I'm doing on my machine, if it's all of a sudden like, man, my machine seems slow. What's the matter with my computer?
You just bam.
I hit the tilde key. It drops. Oh, except for I closed it.
Oopsie. There we go.
I hit the tilde key, brings down my glances.
Oh, that's pretty.
Lets me know where my glances was a pick years ago on the Linux Action Show. And if you don't have glances installed on your computer, you're doing it wrong.
I think it's a really good companion for this too.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a nice little snapshot.
Definitely.
So that's basically 2 picks. In fact, I should
2
probably,
for 1.
I should probably put this. I'll put the Gnome Shell one in the show notes as well. So we have Gwake and the Gnome Shell drop down, and those are just a nice, quick little way to have a terminal stashed away. That boom, there's your terminal. Pow.
There's your terminal.
Yeah. See, I'm sitting here rocking. Oh, boom, I need a terminal. Pow.
Bam, bam.
Yeah.
Gotta love it.
Yeah, there's a lot of them out there, and I know. So if you guys want to leave in the comments the one you like to use over Gwake, because I know there's alternatives.
There's tons of them. Yeah,
Like,
this is one that stood out to me because it was the first time I'd come across
remember.
this.
Does Gwake do tabs? Because the one I was
it does if I remember correctly. I'm 95% sure.
Yeah, it does. It does. Now, the Gnome Shell one that I'm using does not.
Oh.
Gwake's nicer.
Yeah. Okay.
It's
It was just real easy to access.
It's not just that. Like Gwake's more customizable too than the
yeah,
Gnome
you can
Shell.
tweak it.
Yeah. I don't know. I just for some reason like the fact that it's an extension. But otherwise, I'd probably recommend you use Gwake, especially if you're on XFCE.
That's right.
All right, so that's Gwake and drop down terminal. You know, we've mentioned a few times, if you have a better idea, if you have an app you like, you might be wondering, well, how do I let these guys know? Because I don't think they check their email too much.
Not too often.
No, although
We
I have a grand email plan that I will unveil soon. I'm going to try to revamp it. I got plans.
You got plans. Okay.
We'll see what happens. But probably the direct route until the grand email plans come along and I finally achieve inbox 0 for the Linux action. Oh man, I can't even say that with a straight face.
I know. It's kind of like, that's pretty ballsy.
Yeah. Go over to linuxactionshow.reddit.com. Not only do you get more links than what we can even cover in a single episode, but you can submit topic suggestions for the show. You can engage in dialogue with other members of the community to get advice for maybe something you're trying to do. There was a great thread in here today about somebody's like, I'm just kind of bored these days with Linux.
Yeah, I saw that. I thought that was actually a really worthwhile.
Yeah, and so they had a really good conversation thread going. Or like, here was a post like This Week in GNOME that Sigwich did. And it's like, if you're a GNOME guy, it's valuable because he just went in here and summarized like, hey, by the way, here's some happenings. You want to go try out GNOME OS?
That's really cool, yeah.
Here's the link on how to try out GNOME OS.
And some folks may not even realize that's a thing yet, right?
Right, exactly. The great discussion, too, on the Arch challenges were happening here. Hundreds of comments in there. So if you haven't gone over to linuxactionshow.reddit.com, do yourself a favor and go take a look. Even if you're not a Reddit user, you can still go
browse. And we do frequent that. It's probably the #1 way to get our attention next to Google+. So.
Yeah, or Twitter. But maybe even more so on the subreddit than Twitter.
Yeah. It's easier to find because, it can get a little iffy sometimes.
Because you know what it is? It's channels. It's like, okay, this is my last channel, and all the stuff I need to worry about last can be put into certain buckets.
Right.
Whereas the email's like this free-for-all crazy box where anybody can put anything in there.
That's absolutely out of control.
All right, so thanks to everybody who's in that awesome community. We have 3,500 members in there now, keeping us really up to date on some of the best stuff that's going on. And a lot of the great side projects that sometimes don't get attention right in there.
Good stuff.
Matt, with the picks all done, let's do the news.
Hey, it's the news, and this episode is brought to you by
Ting.com. That's right, Matt. Ting is mobile that makes sense, and Ting. I love me some Ting. So I got the new HTC One.
It's a gorgeous phone.
By the way, just in time, right before the Bitcoin crash, once again, I got to just pat myself on the back there.
Played.
And I'll tell you what, this is the finest phone I have ever owned. But this isn't about my new phone. This is about Ting. And my process of bringing this phone onto Ting is really something I want to. I am so impressed by this. So my phone arrives Wednesday. I unboxed it, or Thursday. I unboxed it on last week's Faux Show. If you want to see that, you can go watch the Faux Show. Okay. And after I took it inside, I logged into my Ting account, which is, first of all, their website is so well designed. It is so easy to use. You log in, it says, "Oh, hey, by the way, we noticed your Ting device shipped." I'm like, yes, Ting, my Ting device did ship. Would you like to activate it now? And so I say, yes, Ting, I would like to activate it now. Click, it auto-populates in all of the ESIN, all of the information it needs to activate the phone.
What a time saver.
Next, finish. I'm done. My phone's activated. I'm good to go. So I was so impressed by how fast I didn't have to call anybody. I didn't have to do anything.
Yeah, you have to sit there and hold and be like, what was that number again?
I wasn't worried about it at all, though, because if I do call Ting at 1-855-TING-FTW anytime between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., which I would have now that it's the new Faux Show time, a real person will pick up the phone. So I knew if I got stuck, I wouldn't have a problem. And here's another thing I want to show you about Ting. So here's my personal dashboard for my account. You can see right now that I am pretty darn close to my megabyte usage, right? Because I've been playing with my new phone the last couple of days, and I keep it low. And then one of the things I do is I just turn it up if I need. So that way I'm always just paying the minimum, and it's not a big problem if I accidentally go over. I don't have to worry about it. There's no overage penalties. If you use more than you thought you would, they just adjust me to the next plan, so that's not a big deal.
That's cool.
And I love the fact that if I don't use all of my minutes, if I have unused service, they'll credit me on the difference. So if I use less than I thought I would, Ting will just hit me back on the difference. Boom!
See, I like that. The two things that really stood out to me is that if you're not using the data, you're no penalties there, no problems. They'll just go ahead and reimburse you. But if you do go over, there's no overages. That's a big thing for me personally.
The plans are super easy to understand. They have them in extra small, medium, large. You know, that whole...
It's like a value meal, right? I mean, I love that. Yeah.
Well, I was thinking nice clothing, Matt, but sure.
Okay. Well, no, I mean, everything's about food with me. You got to understand. So if I'm like shopping for stuff, it's like, oh, I'll supersize it. We're good.
All right, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
So, I just look at that and I go, well, heck, if I end up needing more data, it's super easy. I can just dial in the plan I need. I'll say, a few minutes. I need a few messages, not that many, but maybe now I need to go up to 2 gigabytes. Not a big deal. Not a big deal at all. And now that I have multiple phones on my plan, I love that I just keep adding new phones. Unlimited phones doesn't bring up the price.
That's awesome.
It's absolutely fantastic. So thank you to Ting. Go to last.ting.com to save $25 off your first device. Get a contract-free phone that you own. Let's change up the market with a company that's doing it right. I am so impressed by this experience. This is how all mobile companies should operate. Go to last.ting.com. And thanks to Ting for the sponsorship of the Linux Action Show.
Thank you.
All right, Matt, let's move on.
All right.
I've got a news story for you that might perk up your ears. Maybe this will be a Ting. Maybe this will be on a Ting device soon. FireFox OS has a major win under their belts in the last week. This broke during Coder Radio last week. Foxconn has signed up in an agreement with Mozilla to develop 5 devices. Now, Foxconn, the same company that makes computers for HP, Apple, manufactures the iPhone, manufactures a lot of smartphones. This is a huge plan. It's with 5 new devices, including everything from small phones to full-fledged tablets. You remember, this is an HTML5 powered OS. The other thing that I thought was extremely interesting is I was trying to figure out, like, what is Foxconn's sort of play here, right?
Right. What's their angle? Yeah.
When asked about that, Foxconn states it as they're not really trying to establish some sort of big brand, but they just see it as a partnership that could help move this market forward, get more devices out there.
Okay, so they're thinking long term because if they can get this moving forward, then they can sell more product.
Well, and if you get more people off of Intel, you get more people on ARM, you get more people using HTML5. That just means more money for Foxconn.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's forward thinking. Give them that.
Pretty interesting. It's gonna be
fascinating to see what they come up with. I wouldn't like to get my hands on one.
If if you're the Firefox project, if you could pick one hardware vendor to partner with,
these guys are able to fulfill.
Yeah, I mean Fox. So what's interesting? The interesting story about Foxconn here is there's that whole shady aspect.
Yeah, we all know that. Yeah.
And supposedly they've taken steps to address some of that.
Sure, nets. Yeah.
But they started as a manufacturing company, and and now they've sort of grown beyond any one company. Apple's not really, paying the bills as much as they were.
Right. So they're looking to diversify.
They are, and they are putting themselves in a position to be more than just taking the plans and then just building what their customer wants. They're actually now getting more involved in the design phase, in the putting together the different chip solutions for devices. Like they're getting involved now at much earlier stages, so they're going to have a more complete manufacturing process at Foxconn. They're going to have a lot more in-house.
Versus being action reaction as a vendor or as a manufacturer rather, they're actually looking ahead at actually being more involved in the entire process, future planning, diversification, the whole package.
I think so.
Good stuff.
I think so. And Foxconn says that you're going to see tablets, you're going to see 5 devices. The partnership will be limited to smartphones and tablets at first, but they've even hinted at potentially laptops running Firefox OS.
That could be interesting. Hopefully, it could be kind of like a Chrome OS like experience.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if Google has Chrome OS, Firefox might want their.
It does make sense. I mean, I can see that. I mean, obviously, if it works for Google, why not for Mozilla?
Yeah, as Jediah in the chat room says, so they're basically moving from an ODM to an OEM. And it's a pretty good insight.
That's a great,
That's why we love having people live Sundays over at jblive.tv at 10 a.m. Pacific. You can join us and hang out in our chat room and tell us when we're crazy.
Absolutely.
Interesting story that is on Linux User, the magazine. It's just kind of a teaser for their full edition that's going to come out later. And they sat down with Clem from the Mint project and Cinnamon. And they asked him a few questions about Cinnamon 2.0. And there were some big revelations here, and ones that you and I have kind of on and off air been sort of like, I think this might happen.
Yeah.
I think this is going to happen. Well, here it is. In the interview for an upcoming issue of Linux User and Developer, Linux Mint developer Clement... Oh, sorry, Clem. I'm not going to try to say your last name.
Yep,
he revealed some of the plans for the future Linux Mint and Cinnamon desktops. Most importantly, how recent developments have caused the team to finally move, making the code base independent of GNOME. Clem goes on to say, no, in Cinnamon 2.0, you won't be running GNOME at all.
Well, it's a gutsy move.
And
I will give it that.
Cinnamon 2.0 will be in Mint 16. They say this is, he says, Clem says something we both want to do and something we have to do. He went on to talk about how Ubuntu deciding to stay with GNOME 3.6 caused the issue that meant that CinaArch had to become Antergos and Manjaro stopped spinning a Cinnamon edition.
Makes sense.
Even when GNOME 3.8 compatible versions hit the Arch repos. The full interview will be of covering the Linux Mint and Cinnamon in an upcoming issue of Linux User and Developer Magazine. But you remember we covered CinaArch moving away because of the incompatibilities there, and because what they were basically saying is CinaArch said, hey, even though there's a GNOME 3.8 compatible version of Cinnamon coming down the pipes for Arch, this is going to be a problem you guys are going to have all the time.
Oh, yeah, it's a constant headache, right?
I mean, yeah. They can't hitch their wagon to that.
No. That's just good smarts, I think, on their part. And
I continue to be impressed and somewhat worried at the amount of things Clem and team... I think team.
Yeah, I think
are willing
team.
to take on.
Yeah, you do kind of wonder if they're stretching themselves a little thin. I mean, thus far they've been able to keep up reasonably well. Their last release had some good and some bad, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, we liked it.
I liked it. There are a couple things that later on that I kind of realized they could have done differently. But whatever, they're doing a good job. Can they maintain pace? I don't know.
Well, it seems like it would be harder and harder the more and more you take on. Now I know I keep saying this about the Mint project, but so we have Nemo, we have Cinnamon, we have MDM. There's a whole list of things. I can't even recall all of them. But that's 4 major things right there, mate.
Well, I just had a revelation. If they're taking on all this extra stuff, granted, I mean, getting it started and packaged and set up and working is a monumental task. But once they do,
then
when something breaks, they're probably able to track that down and fix it real quick, right? Because they're the ones running it, right?
I think that's completely their philosophy,
so
and
they're
potentially could be absolutely accurate. But
no, that's not. But I think the challenge, of course, is getting all that started and going forward and actually getting that set up, because that I think is the real the real meat and potatoes of it. But if they can pull it off, awesome. Let's see what you guys got.
I would say, I mean, history has shown us that a lot of times people get buried in this kind of stuff, right? So we'll see.
And it can. I mean, looking at the advantages and disadvantages, and I have absolutely I don't use Cinnamon anymore, so I have no vested interest either way. But I think I can see the advantages if they can overcome that hump. If they can overcome the hump and keep it tight, clean, and
then they have a big differentiator from Ubuntu. They can maintain Ubuntu.
It's really its own distro at that point.
It seems like they're getting further and further away from potential Ubuntu compatibility, which is kind of a major feature of Mint for a lot of people. But they also have to answer the question, what makes us different than Ubuntu? What makes us different than Debian? What makes us different than all the other? And as long as they can keep saying, well, we're one of the only places you can get some of this unique software.
That's right.
They at least have an answer.
Absolutely. Different strokes for different folks. We'll see what they do with it.
All right. Well, couple of choice quotes from Linus. He sat down with Dirk Hondel at LinuxCon Japan 2013 for a fireside chat without a fire.
Without a fire, right.
And there was some comments about releases and merging, and the interviewer noted that Torvalds seemed a little more unhappy than usual recently.
Well, we know what he's like when he's unhappy.
And he asked if maybe it was caused by the number of patches he was merging recently.
That could be.
And Torvald said that it's not really the size of the merge window was really the issue. It's untested and flaky code that pisses him off, he says. He says it's a problem when there's a lot of fixes into newly merged features that come in during the RC releases. I want code to be ready when its merge is requested. Given the 10-week release schedule, there's only 6 or 7 weeks to get everything to work. So he is unhappy when people ask him to merge code that makes it harder to converge on the final release.
So I almost wonder if he would prefer then that people sit on it, do a little bit more testing, and then when they're darn sure it's ready,
window.
right?
He does.
I mean, and that seems fair. I'm with Linus on that.
He says if he gets too annoyed at some subsystem or area of the kernel, Torvalds sometimes resorts to refusing to pull code from that developer in question. It's the only thing I can do, he says. when things get to that point. It's an indication that you need to clean up your process because I don't want the pain you're causing. Normally that happens in private with rejections of a pull request and a try next time message. But sometimes it does go public. His job is to integrate changes, so he wants to say yes, which makes it painful for both sides when he gets too frustrated to say no.
If I'm a developer and I'm working with Linus, I'm probably going to want to do everything I can to not end up as a meme or on a list somewhere that people are pointing to. I mean, and that's not against Linus. I mean, just as just the Joe developer here, I'm going to want to mind my P's and Q's and not upset the man. That's just me.
Yeah, although you do kind of get a little internet fame by getting flamed by Linus. You can kind of say like, yeah, that was me. I got flamed by Linus.
I mean, you get a T-shirt.
I would take that. Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I got flamed by Linus, and all I got was this lousy
Right.
T-shirt.
Yeah.
I want to just touch on. He talked also about up and coming trends, wearables. Why do I hate blogs? I hated blogs. Cloud computing. I hated that term.
Sure.
Wearables. I hate that term. What is the matter? Why do I hate all this stuff? I'm an old crank, I guess.
No, it's just it's buzzwords. Buzzwords are stupid, and I don't like them either. You know, it sounds like corporate speak, and it's annoying. And I'm with you there. So
another trend is wearable computers, as shown by Google Glass, and he asked what Linus thought of that. And Linus said the idea of small screen that is always there is attractive to him, but the problem is not on the output side, it's on the input side that's difficult. He hates writing email on his cell phone, so we would love to see some kind of Google Glassy thing for input. He hates voice recognition, though, so perhaps it would work for writing a letter or something, but you can't edit source code that way. He says up, 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 up just doesn't work. Maybe someone in the audience will figure out a better way, he said.
Well, and imagine you're trying to, I can see someone saying, "Oh, wow, I can be more productive. I can go and fix dinner, for instance, while I'm writing code." And you got a grease fire going. You're on fire. Things are bad, and that's not gonna. You're all, and of course your code is reflecting this, and you didn't save it. I mean, it could be a real mess. I mean, right?
I like this quote because it's kind of like the same thing about me starting video podcasting and all this kind of stuff. It's like if you knew what you knew now when you were starting out, that kind of question. It's like, what would you tell yourself or that kind of thing? When starting out on Linux, he says, I was young, I was stupid, and I just didn't know how much work it would be.
Right.
That's how he started to answer the question about his inspiration to write Linux. He wanted an operating system and was even willing to buy one, but there was nothing affordable and available that he wanted to run. Some are religious about open source, but he is not, and would have bought something if it was available. So he started writing Linux and made it open source because he wanted to show off and didn't want to sell it.
Makes sense. He just cuts through all the nonsense. He's very practical. Yeah, I'm good.
He said he knew he was a good programmer, but he also knew he was not a good businessman. So
that's awesome. He acknowledges his strengths, and
he says he never has a plan for Linux. Never has, never will.
He just enjoys doing what he's doing. And he's not real worried about it. I think that's cool.
They got goals and things like that.
They got a foundation for that stuff.
All right, I want to talk about something that's kind of neat, and then we'll talk about how the developer kind of trolled the Linux community later in the feedback segment. So Garrys Mod is making its way onto Linux this week. It doesn't actually show in Steam with the little Tux badge yet.
Oh, it does not? Okay.
No. Nope. But if you have bought it, it will show up for available for download. Garrys Mod is a sandbox physics mod game powered by the Source engine.
Okay.
For months, gamers have been waiting for Garrys Mod. After this year, there was an April Fool's gag that showed like experimental client support.
Right.
Now, with multiple reports of it appearing, and I have it installed here on my machine, it appears to be working well. So I thought I would show it off.
Let's check this out.
I'm not a big Garrys Mod guy.
Sure.
But from what I understand, from my limited old guy understanding, it's like Minecraft meets a first-person shooter.
That could be kind of cool,
and
actually.
It's a physics game where you can manipulate the world. So here it is. So I have it installed.
That could be cool.
I had to install a couple of dependencies to get it to work under Arch.
Interesting. Characters there.
Let's go. Sure, we'll go with a flat grass. So I think this is a world that it like assembles this world, and then I can go in here. I can build these maps, and then I can invite people. So this is I just started with a very basic world. Here you can see.
Yeah, that's it's very vanilla.
Yeah,
it's flat.
Yeah. Oh, look, there's a city off in the background though. Yeah, so if I knew how, I could build something here and then invite people to flat. Look at that.
That's crazy. Well, and I almost wonder. So maybe some advantages here are you're really good at. I mean, you've always wanted to create your own map, right? I mean, that's something you've always wanted to do, but maybe using other tools you've not been very successful. But you're a Minecraft maniac. This could be a real nice entry point for you. Ooh,
you see. Oh yeah.
So this is pretty straightforward.
It's a map editor. It's totally a map editor. I just don't know how to use it.
So let's say we want the washing machine, for instance. I mean, clearly, a first-person shooter needs a washing machine.
Or a pet carrier. Check out the pet carrier.
I mean, you need a pet carrier. And a door.
But now take this to so we have like a Minecraft server for Jupiter Broadcasting. Imagine like this seems like it could be even way cooler than Minecraft because you could have people come in here and build these awesome arenas and then just have the most crazy first-person shooters,
Zero G and whatnot, just all jumping off.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
So now that I've never played it because it's never been available for Linux.
Right.
Ooh, geez, that didn't sound good.
Oh wow.
I'm very that was up way higher than I expected.
Whoops, a little bit of a lump.
I'm very selective about the Windows games I play, so I've never played Garrys Mod. But now it's on Linux. I'm gonna try it out. So.
Well, I mean, just looking at it agnostically as far as the OS is concerned, I think it sounds like a compelling idea. That fascinates me. I can map build, which is something I actually could see myself getting into.
Janitor says it's less about map building, maybe more about building complex physics-based machines.
Oh.
So
wow, so it's going up a level. Okay, well, so what does the teapot got to do with that? It's like some of the stuff I'm not really
trying to figure out how to deploy the teapot. I don't know how to
deploy the teapot.
Yeah.
There
Okay.
Okay.
So that's Garrys Mod, and obviously I know
interesting.
nothing about it, but I've heard a lot of people talk a lot about it. And
I wonder if they got like
I'll
a
be checking
Garry's
it out.
Way.
Should I try to find a multiplayer game on the internet?
Sure, why not?
I don't know what happened. All right, so
There we go.
Trouble in Terrorist Town. Oh boy, that's kind of appropriate.
Let's
for
connect
today's
to that
episode.
because that's going to end well.
All right, let's do it. That won't get me in trouble.
No, flagging
Okay.
not so.
All right, so there's a whole bunch of more in here.
Hell,
Trouble in
times aren't
Terrorist
bad.
Town. Join server. Let's see what we get, Matt. This is a little
There we
random,
go.
but
Trouble in Terrorist Town. It's got
wow, look at that. They got art on their thing.
See, this is what I'm saying. This kind of stuff I think is cool. Now you're downloading your maps and whatnot. Okay.
I don't know the significance of the
Some
teapot.
MP3s.
No,
You
the
got
sign.
some.
Chat rooms like watching like, oh
Audio.
yeah, we know all about this, you guys.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you guys are so old and outdated.
I know, right? They're like, how do you guys not know this? You know what all those people are? Those people are admitting that they have been playing Windows games.
Uh-oh.
You guys are busted.
Dun,
Busted.
dun. Dual booters. Dual booters.
Well, it's downloading materials, Matt.
That's
I don't know
gonna be-
how long that's going to
It
take.
could be a little bit.
I really want to see it, though.
Cheating will result in a permanent ban. Well, that's
Yeah.
logical.
I see. You guys are saying there's just a history of the teapot in 3D modeling.
Oh.
Well, okay. All right, so chat room, while this loads, can anybody remind me what libraries fixed it? Maybe I can find those real quick so we can tell people.
lib32 or lib32.
Yeah, here it is. Yeah, here it is. So if you're on Arch or maybe on Ubuntu, and if Garry's Mod doesn't start for you, you need lib32gconf and lib32polkit, at least on Arch.
Okay, yeah, and policy kit, and that's for your authentication and whatnot. So.
I guess there's probably. I mean, I would obviously assume there's 64-bit version. So if you're on a 32-bit system, you might not have. They might already have those installed. You might not have to worry.
Well,
about
I think they got that library package that kind of like merges everything up for you.
You're a library package.
I am a library package.
All right, we're almost loaded now. I'm just curious to see what people can build.
Yeah,
that's all I want to know.
Cool.
I'm waiting for it. Oh, Rikai says, by the way, lib32gconf is in the Outroos repository. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay, so we got the rules here, Matt.
Use common sense. Well, they lost me there. I can't play it. Sorry.
All right, check this place out.
Oh, hey, now I see about the physics.
Whoa. I don't know.
Whoa, floating barrel.
There's people talking to me. There's people talking. I can hear people. This is really cool.
That is weird. It's just crazy. It kind of reminds me of Second Life with firearms.
So these are what the terrorists are up to.
Kind of
huh?
what it reminds me of. Yeah,
it is kind of like Second Life.
It does. I mean, the floating around and all that. Yeah.
Oh, I think I broke something.
No, you're just inside walls and stuff.
I don't know.
Are you in
what do
you call it? Ghost mode, whatever you want. Yeah.
I don't know.
Wow, you got a dunce cap there going on.
Oh, I'm shadowing. I'm shadowing other people. I see.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that guy has.
Now, that is awesome. See, I want that in real life. I want a bucket on my head with the word air.
I'm guessing I don't have all the textures or something because that guy has a piece of cake on his head.
Okay, so for you audio listeners, we have a man with a barrel on his head and a gigantic word air being attacked by a giant pizza. I don't really know what's up with that.
No, I think that's cake. I think that's cake. Yeah.
Okay, cake is kicking Barrel's butt.
All right, so there you go. There's Garry's Mod.
Retiring.
I think well that'll be our action coverage of Garry's Mod. I guess.
It's absurd, which I love, right? I mean, I just love the absurdity.
I think
of
I
the
picked a
characters.
bad one. Oh,
that was awesome.
Okay, all right.
I like that. Yeah,
all right,
it's crazy.
Maybe I'll have to dip back into that after the show.
It's 21 flavors are wrong. 31 flavors are wrong.
So if you haven't grabbed it yet, go grab it. And then if you haven't heard about how the developer has trolled the Linux community of Garry's Mod, we'll be covering that in the feedback. But Matt,
yes.
I think that's all the news for this week. So let's go talk about some privacy under Linux. Unless you've been living under a rock called denial this week, you probably have heard the story about Prism and Verizon phone records tapping and large governments around the world sharing that information. And we'll link to a New York Times article in the show notes that kind of covers it. Of course, we'll be talking more about this, I'm sure, on TechSnap and Unfilter.
Deep stuff.
But this is big, and it's made a lot of people kind of think, you know, even if I'm not doing anything right, maybe I just want to take steps now to protect myself. Right. And in at least 2 cases, Google and Facebook have apparently been discussing plans to set up separate portals, like digital rooms that the NSA can go in to retrieve information. Companies that have negotiated with the government so far include Google, which obviously owns YouTube, Microsoft, which owns Hotmail, Skype, Yahoo, Facebook, AOL, Apple. Dropbox is in talks, listed as coming soon. Now, what degree of information they're getting, we're still not totally clear. A lot of the CEOs come out and say, well, look, we're not giving direct access. We're not giving them direct access.
And that pesky no domestic spying thing, you know.
So we thought maybe this should be a good time with all the headlines, regardless of where you sit on the political spectrum, just to talk about encryption. And why not start now? That way, if you ever need to encrypt something down the road, you're already encrypting everything, and it's obvious. It's not obvious that you're trying to protect that one simple thing. But now, I totally acknowledge that not all of you are down with this. And so for you, in the show notes, I'll have a link to, say, if you're working on a Ruby panel project, this is just a pre-built NSA backdoor that you can load into any Ruby project you're working on.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
How awesome.
It's called NSA Panel. And they already have example code right here. It's the easiest way to add the special panel for the NSA agents to monitor your users' data. So it gives them a nice interface to all of your users' data, so that way they can fight terrorism, you and the NSA. So if this segment isn't for you, you can go find that link.
Well, you can even set them up, you know, username's username, password's password. That way they can remember.
Yeah, totally easy.
Yeah.
I want to start with instant messaging. Maybe you got super secret plans about your moon base that you want to instant message with people. There's a couple of different options around this. The 2 I want to talk about today is an off-the-record plugin for Pigeon and an encryption plugin. It's my first pick, and then we'll have a second pick. And off-the-record plugin it's kind of nice because it allows you to have an encrypted communication session over an existing chat network like Google Talk.
Right.
The only downside to that is that network is then it's still at least logging when you connected, who you talked to at what time, and for how long. They might not know the contents, but that's still bad. But you could run it over your own network. You could run over anything Pigeon can run over. So it's awesome in the sense that it's just, you know, there's a lot of different ways to do it. But the one I'm recommending is a little plugin for Pigeon that's, I'm sure, in your repo, and it's called Off the Record Messaging. And you turn that on, and you can combine it with Pigeon GPG, which will encrypt the contents of the message too.
That's cool.
They're both really good plugins to have. So this is one way you can sort of bolt on encryption.
And would you say this would be like really awesome for like maybe public networks, coffee shops, things like that? That would be really cool.
Totes. The other thing, which I like a little more than that, is called Tor Chat. And Tor Chat is very, very simple. In fact, I will here, let me pull it up for you.
Yeah.
So here's Tor Chat, and you can see here's me. And I just have this Tor Chat ID. And I can connect with other people who have a Tor Chat ID. So I can add a contact. And I just put in their Tor Chat ID in their display. And then once you start chatting with that person, it's just a very simple...
Looks like it's got basic IM functionality, send files, text back and forth.
Yeah, and it's over the Tor network.
I like that.
Yeah, and I have a little more confidence in this than I do, say, the Pigeon plugins.
Right.
Especially if you're using Google's network.
Because Tor is really centralized around privacy, where these plugins are
centralized.
Centralized. I used a funny word. Okay. Yeah.
To describe Tor.
To describe Tor.
But yeah, you're right.
Decentralized.
That's what their focus is. Right? That's what their focus is. So that's Tor Chat.
Interesting.
So these are ways you can instant message on Linux using desktop software. That and both of these circumstances, I'm avoiding web services. I'm avoiding things like that. So Tor Chat's my pick for instant messaging that's encrypted. Okay,
good stuff.
All right, moving on, Matt, to our next category.
Cool.
Let's talk about. And by the way, Tor Chat 2 is out, and we'll have a link to that.
Oh, nice.
In the show notes.
Nice.
So you have your instant messaging, but you need a way to handle your emails, and you could use something like GPG, which is sort of the go-to.
Kind
gold
of standard, yeah.
Beautiful. There is one particular flaw, especially with webmail, is you're still, again, you have somebody who's tracking who you talk to, when you talk to them, and, any kind of metadata they can pull from
patterns begin to show.
Yeah, but they can't potentially see the contents if you're being secure, but,
yeah. No, I think that's important to know.
I'm sort of advocating... If you really have stuff you want to be confidential about, potentially either hosting your own email server and then using GPG on top of that, or move into something brand new that is a replacement for email that is designed with a peer-to-peer architecture with every message encrypted from the start.
I like that.
And not even being able to track the sender or receivers of the message.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
In a sense.
Okay.
It's called BitMessage, and it's the Bitcoin of online communication. It's based a little around Bitcoin. BitMessage is like Bitcoin in that it's decentralized, it's peer-to-peer, and unlike add-ons like Pretty Good Privacy, BitMessage is a unified system that encrypts every message. The whole point of the platform is to keep the communications secure. On top of that, it keeps secure the members of the communication. Not only the content of the message is protected, but the sender and receiver of those messages are kept secret as well.
Wow. I like that. That's really cool.
And everybody has their own unique address. It's redundant. It's distributed. It's really neat. And I sent out a message last night. I said, hey, if anybody out there is trying out BitMessage, here's my BitMessage, and send me one. And so here it's you picture.
Oh,
so here it is, Matt.
Like, basically for audio listeners, it's like an inbox.
It looks like an email inbox, right? I have here's my inbox. Here's my compose window. Here's my sent folder. Here's my. I can have multiple addresses.
This is cool. This is very clean.
So I could email you from one address, and I could email listeners from another. I'm using the term email, but it's BitMessage, right? It also supports subscriptions, so I could have a broadcast address about show news that people could subscribe to that address, and then I just send it out there, and everyone who subscribed will receive my message. So it also has sort of like newsletter capabilities, right?
That's nice.
Yeah.
I'm liking that. You got your network status there.
Yeah, you get an idea of how many people you're connected to. So here's the inbox, and these are all super encrypted private messages that people have sent to me. Like here's Ben Morris talking about givepodcast.com.
Wow.
Look at I asked a few people like what they thought about BitMessage. I don't know who this person is because they're completely anonymous. And he said, but there's been 2 attacks that I know about against BitMessage. They flood the system with bogus node IP address, and then the developer responds. They also fill the known nodes.dat file with unresponsive entries, but the developer has responded. In both cases, the developer worked very quickly.
Well, that's cool. I'm glad they're really on top of that, but that is kind of a point to remember.
Rewarp writes in, hi, Chris. No need to mess around with GPG keys and plugins for email clients. That's what he loves about BitMessage. This approach seems to be more secure and straightforward, even though the less technically influenced can also communicate securely. And
that's a big point.
That is a big point, right? Because just by using BitMessage, all of the encryption, all the well, I don't know if it's completely anonymous, but all of that's handled for you, right? You don't have to make sure you sign the message just right. He says, I work with a group of individuals persecuted because of their beliefs, or rather lack of. And some have found their email accounts compromised and publicly exposing them as atheists. Tools like this are incredibly vital to secure communication and no doubt will save lives.
So I think for casual privacy usage, not so much for with governments, but more so maybe just from what this person was talking about to where they're dealing with issues as far as beliefs and things like that, you can keep some privacy intact and still be able to communicate freely. It's really cool.
David writes in from Norway, says the first message I've ever sent with BitMessage. I found the installation easy and sending stuff is also straightforward.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, I don't know, kind of. Oh, look at this! I'm getting
get some new ones in.
I'm getting Tor chats.
Nice.
That's awesome.
I love the alerts for it.
I stayed logged in. So,
nice.
These two. So here I am with an instant messaging program. Give me your IRC nick from the chat so we know who you are.
Yeah, right.
Mr. Tor message. This is it's Ben Morse.
Oh, okay.
Here we have a complete email replacement that is secure and confidential, and a complete chat replacement that is secure and confidential.
And it's ready to go. It's easy to set up. I mean, you don't have to be, it's not rocket surgery.
Right.
It's cool.
I think the combination of these two. Now, BitMessage is still under heavy development, so you never know. There could be bugs they find, something like that. So, it's something to watch for now, but very excited about those two technologies. That's
really something to watch.
Yeah, I really like those. Now, maybe you got a little web browsing to do, right? Maybe you got some sites you want to, honestly, and I'm not even exaggerating. Sometimes when I'm Googling stuff for Unfilter, I get a little nervous.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, is this stuff being compiled and misinterpreted?
Yeah.
That you're some sort of...
Well, because sometimes I'm searching about stuff that has got to put me on some sort of watch list.
And despite the fact you're doing it from a news perspective or a reporting perspective, you're being, I mean, how's that going to be interpreted? By a computer or some stranger? Right?
Yeah, by bots, right?
Right.
And so a lot of us know of the Tor project. We've been talking a lot about it. We've been talking about Tor Chat. The Tor project has been working on this Tor Browser bundle. And this is really the way they want people browsing the Tor web. Right. And it's combined with a front end, what's it called, like the Vivalda front end that connects you to the Tor network. And then it launches a FireFox browser. And they like to update both components together. So you update one. Most are available in your repos. If they're not, we have download links.
Oh yeah, they're easy to find.
I'll show it to you though, because what I like about it quite a bit is this little UI. So if you're a little uncomfortable with the Tor network, it really walks you through what it's doing. So here you launch Tor Browser, And you can see right when it starts up, it launches the control panel. It tells me that it's connected to the Tor network. I can stop Tor on command. I can view the status of the network. I can watch my bandwidth graph. And it's actually like it's a nice little bandwidth graph.
Details.
Yeah.
Oh, this is super.
Yeah, and now that it's connected to the Tor network, it launches my Tor browser. You can see it has the Tor proxy plugin. So
And you know you're enabled. That's nice.
Yep, and then it'll take me to the check.torproject.org page to let me know that I'm on I'm on Tor. You can see now my bandwidth graph is going up.
That's super.
And now anything I do in this session is completely protected.
That's so cool.
And I can keep browsing my other sites in my regular web browser, not through Tor.
Right.
So I can do both, and I can just keep this up and not have to worry about it. And then when I'm done, I hit exit once, and it closes both the Tor connection and the web browser.
I love it.
Yeah, so that's Tor Browser. It's available in the Arch repo. It's available everywhere. It's available everywhere.
That's so cool. And it's so accessible. I love that. I love the fact that it's so accessible.
Yeah, it really is great. A couple other tools that make things accessible. Tor Browser is wonderful, but maybe you just need to do some encryption. Maybe you need good old GPG support. You want to encrypt some text files. They mentioned Dropbox will be joining the Prism program, whatever that means soon.
Right.
So maybe you love the utility of Dropbox, but you don't want your data to be in the clear anymore. Now I can see why you might want to bust out some GPG encryption.
Yes.
First step you're going to need to do is you're going to need some keys, and you're going to need to import keys. You're going to need to manage keys under Linux. That's where Seahorse comes in. Seahorse is encryption made easy for Linux. It creates and manages PGP keys, creates and manages SSH keys. You can publish and retrieve keys from key servers.
Yes.
You can back up your keys and your key ring. And, of course, I have it loaded here, so I'll give you a little demonstration of it.
Nice little GUI.
So here's the Seahorse. They haven't updated it for a while, the UI, but they don't really need to.
Yeah, I mean, it really, for what it does, who cares? As long as it works and it's effective.
2010, I believe, was the last.
As long as it's still supported and any changes that need to be updated. It's
and see here's it easy. So I can say new.
Yeah.
I can say I want a new PGP key, password key ring.
Oh yeah, right.
Obviously, a lot of options, and it's very, very straightforward to then generate a key here. You can import keys very simply. And then they're available to all the GPG applications on your Linux box, which is really nice. So I have a whole bunch in here.
Oh, so you got the whole list.
Oh, I got a whole ton in here,
that's
right?
Great.
And so that's Seahorse. That lets me import keys, lets me create my own keys, lets me do all of that. So when somebody says, hey, Chris, here's my GPG key in an email, I go copy and paste it into a key file, then I import it into Seahorse.
So it's like a complete key management tool.
Yep.
I like that.
Now that I have those keys, I want to be able to encrypt things against them, right? I want to be able to encrypt things and use those keys to unlock them.
Gotcha.
That's where GPG Cryptor comes in. GPG Cryptor is about as straightforward as it gets. You put your so right in here, super secret message to Chris, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then I say which key I want to give it to. I'm going to say I'm going to give this to Chris.
Okay.
And I created that key in Seahorse just a little bit ago.
So now we're applying this key to this text message.
So I'll say encrypt, and then there's the output. There's the encrypted output right there.
That's cool.
And I would suppose we could do the same. I don't know. Let's try this because now that I've encrypted it to myself,
right?
I think if I put it up here and I say decrypt cipher, no, I'm not. I don't know. Actually, I've never actually decrypted anything.
Right.
Here's another nice thing: is you could do a series of text files with this. So you could have text files in your Dropbox and then point them at this. I think I'm doing that just slightly wrong.
Probably. Yeah.
We'll
tinker with it.
You paste it in here and then But this is a great way to send somebody a quick message without having to have. Maybe you want to use Gmail, and you only want to encrypt a few things.
Right. You like the Gmail
You paste
client,
the email
but you
into
don't
here.
use the third
Yeah,
party. Right.
yeah, exactly, right?
Yep.
You paste the Gmail in here, you encrypt it,
right.
and then you toss it back in your Compose window. I kind of advocate encrypting everything always, because then you always have essentially plausible deniability saying, no, I'm not trying to hide anything.
You're security conscious.
I just encrypt everything. Yeah.
Care about your privacy. Sure.
That's all, man. That's
all.
in the cipher box, that makes sense, doesn't it? Because it's not plain text. Decipher text. Oh, so then once I deciphered it, asks for the key phrase. That makes sense, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, that helps. kind of important. Yeah. There we go.
There we go, and it decrypted it. Super secret message to Chris.
It was all about the right box to put it in.
Yeah, that would make sense. You wouldn't put it in the plain text box, which I wasn't even reading. I'm looking at this and going, I've only sent encrypted messages to people with this.
It's like we've never decrypted
But
them.
I like that once you import them into Seahorse, it just makes all of the keys available right there in the drop down. So you just say, I want this key, and then boom. Yeah.
Love it.
So that's GPG Cryptor, and there's some of these tools available for KDE too, but these are what I got my hands on.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Yeah, and I'll have links to the homepage. GPG Cryptor is a graphical front end to GNU PGP, so it's nice that everything's using GNU PGP on the back end, so all of these tools just work together.
Good, reliable stuff with a nice glossy front end. Like it. Cool.
Now I got one I'm not actually using myself because it wouldn't build on Arch.
Okay.
But I want to blow your minds. We've talked about email. We've talked about IM. We've talked about just encrypting a message that maybe you want to store in your Dropbox or maybe one you want to pass back and forth. That's all great. BitMessage looks awesome. But there's a big hole here, and maybe you're so paranoid that not even DuckDuckGo is going to do it for you.
Oh, my goodness.
Maybe
not
you're
even
not
DuckDuckGo.
Not even DuckDuckGo.
Whoa.
What do you do? What do you do? You roll your own search engine.
Oh, no way.
I want to introduce you to Yacey. It's a
yes.
decentralized web search. It's peer-to-peer web search, and everybody who fires up Yacey becomes part of a decentralized free world network of, I guess you would consider each one part of like sort of Google's
a
data
cog
center.
of a machine.
Yeah,
maybe?
it's all part of one giant search engine that participates in this peer-to-peer network. It's so cool. You run it on your own machine, and I mean, I couldn't get it to
really
load.
neat.
I don't know if it takes a lot of. I was gonna try to see what happens. Like,
Right. What kind of resources it
Yeah.
needs, what you need to build it.
like,
whatnot,
I do kind of like the idea of going to localhost and then doing a web query from my local box.
Right.
I don't know how good it is.
But it would be cool.
Yeah.
So, any of the Arch guys that know how to get this built on, we'd be interested in hearing about it.
It says installation is easy, but
Well, it depends on what you're using, I guess.
yeah. And this is a real-time graph too of the network, which is pretty neat.
That's crazy.
And
That's so awesome.
And in one honorable mention, it showed up in the Linux Action Show subreddit this morning. The Free Software Foundation. You heard of them?
I've heard of them. They're good folks.
You familiar with those guys?
I am familiar with those guys.
You know, and I think rightfully so. By the way, it's been making the quotes. Richard Stallman's quotes from 2001 and 2007 and
early on.
2008 have been making the rounds. This about the warning of some of these problems that. You know,
and rightfully so.
When you hand over, he actually was, Richard Stallman was quoted as saying that when you use cloud computing, it's almost worse than using closed source software because you're handing all control over to that company.
Sure.
And computers are getting so powerful, we should have the control here locally. Yeah. And I think that's kind of what I'm moving to. And to help facilitate that, the Free Software Foundation has GNU-net.
Oh, so they're actually, now that's cool. Rather than just talking about what you shouldn't do, they're actually providing a solution.
I think,
that's cool.
yeah.
I like that.
GNU-net is a framework for secure peer-to-peer networking that does not use any centralized or otherwise trusted services. A first service implementation on top of a networking layer allows anonymous, censorship-resistant file sharing. Anonymity, easy for me to say, is provided by making messages originated from peer-to-peer indistinguishable from messages that the peer is routing.
Crazy.
All peers act as routers and use link encrypted connections within this stable bandwidth utilization to communicate with each other.
That is cool. I love the fact that it's a doable solution. I'll be interested to see where it develops.
I think it's because I'm not really familiar with it. I'm not sure where it fits in the Tor space because it seems like to me I have Tor.
Is it maybe competing? Yeah. How that actually?
This I think maybe is more straight. Sounds like it's more straight of a file sharing network.
Right.
So. That's interesting.
Yeah, it could be.
The Arch packages haven't been updated for a while, so I'm not sure how active it is. But I tried to give it a go, and it wouldn't. I think I saw how old the packages were, and I decided to pass.
Just pass on
because I was focusing on Yacey, the decentralized search engine, because that is awesome.
Well, I'm hoping someone in the subreddit will maybe put together a little how-to. That'd be cool.
My two takeaways from these tools that we're covering. First of all, they all are running on Linux. They all have GUI front ends,
right?
Which is great. Yes. Makes it very accessible. And GPG Crypter, I think this is
that's so cool.
This is potentially my favorite because it has made. I mean, just look at the simple to use UI.
It's like it's just brain dead simple.
Yeah, it's brain dead simple, and it also does files, which is so nice. Yes. So then you don't have to worry about plugins. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. So GPG Crypter and BitMessage are the two that I'm the most excited about from these takeaways. Those look like fantastic.
Well, and they put you in control of how you're managing those files. What you're choosing, what's going on. It's all nice and local and tightly controlled on your end.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Speaking of being in control, you know what I'm in control of?
What are you in control of?
My laptop, thanks to System76. System76 are the creators of machines born, designed to run Linux.
That's right.
And you look at these machines that they have here, and I, as somebody who's owned these for a very long time, there's an aspect that's hard to appreciate until you've owned a System76 laptop, and that is the amount of forethought and consideration that goes into every product they ship. Right. There's individualized customizations on every machine. Right. System76 works very, very diligently to create something from the very beginning that will last a long time. Here I am running Arch Linux on a machine honestly born to run Ubuntu, but because they made fantastic hardware choices early on, I have great Arch success on my machine.
That's right.
I love that kind of flexibility. And one of the things you realize when you become a System76 customer is for so long, a lot of people in the Linux world have watched the Mac users out there go out and have this very pleasant purchasing experience where they go into a nice store, they buy this box, they bring it home, it's not loaded with crap, it's pre-configured, it's ready to go, and for them, it's a very frictionless experience. It's very easy for them compared to like getting one of the big box stores.
Oh yeah, where you're uninstalling all the crap and cruft and all the stuff you don't want. I love the fact that they take care of that for you. It's so nice.
And Linux users have had to watch this from afar and be a little envious, a little jealous of that. They're like, look at that Unix-based system.
Because a lot of these folks have actually ended up with their own computers. Maybe they're lucky enough to have built it themselves, but a lot of times they ended up with something that started with Windows that they had to decruft to get there, right? So
when you buy a System76 machine, you get that experience with Linux. You get that out of the box. Oh my gosh, this just works. It's amazing. It's been designed for me. Somebody's thought about this for potentially years before they shipped it.
That's right.
It's an incredible experience, and you really only get to have it when you buy a System76 machine. So go over to System76, get a desktop, get a laptop, something built to run Linux, and tell them the Linux Action Show sent you. Go treat yourself. Get yourself something nice.
Support the ecosystem, folks.
Yeah, and thanks to System76 for sponsoring this segment of the Linux Action Show.
Definitely.
We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right, Matt, well, we'll have links to all of the tools we covered. I want people to go out there and start encrypting their data, make themselves more secure, and if you've got any tips or apps that you love on Linux to encrypt, to protect yourself, drop a link in our subreddit, maybe a note on why you love it, and we'll take a look at it in a future episode.
Absolutely.
Of the Linux Action Show. This whole topic of moving away from services, rolling your own cloud, we've danced around it a lot over the years.
Yeah, some own box here and there, a little bit of this.
Yeah. And with the Raspberry Pi and BitTorrent Sync and all of this stuff, I'm starting to put together this really awesome home cloud, powered by the Pi with maybe like a USB external storage array that has some redundancy with BitTorrent Sync.
Oh, that would be cool.
And own cloud. And I'm starting to put together a pretty big idea.
Imagine being able to buy Pis, no pun intended.
Hey-o.
Buy Pis with all the stuff like already installed for you.
That's what I was thinking. Like
that would be kind of nice.
I was wondering if somebody
it's fun to do it yourself, but other folks,
I was wondering if somebody was eBaying something like that. But
that'd be neat.
Anyways, I digress. That'll probably be something you'll hear from us in the future on. So if that's something that interests you or something you're already working on, let us know.
Yes.
We want to hear about it.
We want to know all about it.
All right, go encrypt your stuff. This week, we're wrapping up our Let's Plays where people recorded their favorite games on Linux that just haven't gotten enough attention here on the big show. Right. And as a result, for sending something in, they're going to win some Steam titles.
All right, we
got 2 this week, Matt.
Cool.
First one comes from You Must Be GNU here.
GNU.
He submitted this on our subreddit as per the contest requirements.
Yes.
And he submitted Amnesia. I think it's gotten a mention on the show, but hasn't gotten any play. Literally. And he did about a 40-minute walkthrough of the game, if you haven't seen it yet. I'm just going to jump about partway in. What was funny is I watched this. Oh, you won't be able to hear it, Matt.
Oh, no, I can.
But
get the gist of it.
He starts getting freaked out.
That's classic.
Yeah.
That's classic.
It starts he starts, in fact...
Oh, that's cool.
He starts getting so freaked out.
Lantern oil and stuff, because you can never have enough lantern oil. If I can nope, can't rotate that.
He gets so freaked out that he actually cut a part of it out that he published because he screamed like a girl.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'll jump ahead a little bit. So this is Amnesia.
Done there myself. Don't feel bad.
It's 3 points in a triangle, 4-phase amplitude. Oh. Okay.
So remember Myth?
Oh yeah.
Or Mist?
All right.
Oh, yes.
I hope. Okay,
Yeah.
so let me pick them up. So I guess that was right.
Kind of like that. Kind of like
Little
that.
bit,
Only much more modern.
Right.
People are loving Amnesia, and so I jumped around a bit to watch this. Here, I'll play one more clip because it's just fun to listen to him panic. So he's got a lantern there.
Okay. How much? I use the lantern too often.
Nice.
It's so funny. I love. It's funny how fun these Let's Plays are. So thanks, You Must Be GNU here for submitting Amnesia: The Dark Descent. If you guys haven't seen that, and I would say if you liked Myst,
yes,
you're
gonna dig this. You're gonna dig this big time.
All right, next game was submitted by, I believe, Q5Sys. Yes, there he is. And it's Let's Play Alpha Centauri on Linux. He didn't have any sound, so I'll just jump around a little bit.
Okay.
Now, this is Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri. Oh,
really? Thanks.
YouTube.
Thanks, Slash. or YouTube.
YouTube or somebody. Let's blame Larry Page and Steve Ballmer together. Let's just blame them both. They were conspiring together. His sound was borked, so he couldn't. But he gives you at least it gives you a good walkthrough of what the game looks like. So you can go check out Alpha Centauri, this video, and see if it's a game you want to pick up from Steam.
That's kind of cool looking.
Yeah.
University Buzz.
I like these types of games, but for me, Alpha Centauri is looking a little old.
It's looking a little retro. It's kind of got a little bit of a definitely has some retro feel to it.
Yeah.
But
anyways, it was a good submission, and there's some good comments in here too about he explains why he had no audio.
Stuff.
Yeah. I don't think maybe it's not on Steam yet, but Q5 says for your submission you will win a Steam key for something. I don't know what yet. I have to see what I have. It's first come first serve. But so there you go. We have You Must Be GNU here. He will be winning a Steam title, and Q5 says he'll be winning a Steam title. And you guys, all of these Let's Plays and all of these Etsy segments are made possible by our Untangle sponsor. Now, Matt, do you know about Untangle?
I know a little something about Untangle.
If folks go over to untangle.last.com, you will get a nice little deal if you buy their upgrade packages, which give you some fantastic functionality for your Untangle box. Untangle firewalls work flawlessly once you have them installed, so it's fantastic because you just set it and forget it. Something like the U-Series appliance, you can get that in your network up in 10 minutes, and then you're just set to go. Are you for an expert? If you're not, it doesn't matter. If you want to get some content filtering, which go way beyond anything the other guys are doing, I mean, way beyond.
And how simple it is to use. That's what I always found so compelling is that when I had the test box, I had my wife trying it, and she took to it immediately and was actually, she's not someone that has a background in IT, so this was really exciting to see.
I also like the fact that before you make the commitment to something like your most important edge device, you can download the ISO image from Untangle's website and try it out on your own box. And then if you decide, you know what, I want to keep rocking this, you can upgrade. Just use the code LAST20. You'll save 20% off when you get some of their filtering. You can try it out for free, though, so you don't have to worry about that. Just go to untangle.com/last, go get the ISO, see what it can do, and then maybe, once you're ready to go up from there, check out one of their really cool appliances.
Oh, yeah. Step up to the big boys. Definitely.
Thanks to Untangle for sponsoring the /Etsy segment. Go to untangle.com/last and use our code LAST20 when you check out to get 20% off your service plan.
Nice.
All right, thank you, everyone, for your Let's Play submissions. We'll wrap it up for this week, but we'll do some new ones in the future.
Absolutely.
Especially as new games come out.
Good stuff.
And those will all be linked in the show notes if you want to go watch somebody's walkthrough. I know it sounds funny. If you haven't watched a Let's Play, they're actually a ton of fun.
They are hysterical. I mean, the one with the panic. I mean, that was, we're teasing you, we're enjoying it, but it's fun. It's fun to watch.
I used to just, when I was a kid and my dad would have one of the old retro game consoles, I used to just sit back and watch my dad play, and I wasn't even really interested in playing myself. I just liked watching someone else play. It's sort of that same thing with these Let's Plays. Plus, you get to see how somebody else solves some of the problems. You get to see if the game's worth your money. So they're great ones. So it's good to kind of give Linux games exposure like this because, honestly, I want to show these developers that Linux users are willing to buy their games.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying, Matt?
That's right.
All right, that wraps up /Etsy. And that brings us to the end of this week's show. That felt good. That felt dramatic.
Very dramatic.
Before we get out of here, though, I want to cover some feedback. Tons of feedback. I got big plans to revamp the email because we're just not getting to enough of it. And our Arch switch has generated a ton of stuff. But I want to cover a couple of things that I've been meaning to get to for the last couple of weeks, and I just feel like a jerk for not giving these things a mention.
Okay.
So like 2 weeks ago on the big show, I said, I wish there was some good soundboard software available for Linux.
Remember that.
Right?
Yes.
Well, how awesome is our community? We've had 2 soundboards created since then.
Holy cow!
Yeah, 2 soundboards. And this is a huge hole for production space in Linux. So one was sent in by Savage Tiger.
Nice.
And he linked his up on GitHub. Now, I was not able, I got it installed via the Arch user repository, but I couldn't get it to launch yet. So I have more playing to do with this. But I love that as we were making the switch, he's like, well, if these guys are making it the switch, I better put this in the Arch user repo.
Yeah, logically,
Yeah.
That's cool.
So there you go. It's called the JB Soundboard, and it's from Savage Tiger. And we'll have a link to that. Nice. And then we got another soundboard that was sent in from, where's GX's soundboard? I have it in here somewhere. GX sent in a soundboard too, and what's awesome about, I put a link in the
Show notes.
Yeah. What's awesome about GX's soundboard is that it's web-based.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's
No
all scalable inside a web page. You upload the MP3 files or the OGG files or whatever browser you're using to the web directory. It indexes them, and it builds out a soundboard.
Oh, that's awesome.
And they're all hotkeyable. I didn't put the link in here because it's not public yet.
Yeah,
because it's not. We're gonna move.
We're
it
not
over
quite
to,
ready.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to point everybody to his personal test
you
server.
get it all ready for public.
But awesome, you guys. We'll be playing with both of those. One is a Python desktop app and one's a web app. Two very interesting solutions. Both look really great, and
something for everybody.
Added
really,
a ton of features
depending on what your skill level is and what you want to do. That's cool.
Thanks, you guys.
That is so awesome.
Just so
way
awesome.
to go, community.
Yeah. All right. Let's cover a little Arch switchage. Kenneth writes in, he says, been watching the Arch Action Show and listening to your guys describe Arch reminds me of Gentoo back in 2004, 2005 days, where you basically build your own Linux distro. Back around 2004, 2005, I was using BSD, and it became clear Linux was going to rule the world. So I went with Gentoo so I could learn Linux. Fast forward 8 years, and I will never use Arch or Gentoo because I install Linux when I want to get stuff done. For example, I need to use a DHCP DNS server. I can get this running in a very short time, and it's very solid if I choose Debian, Ubuntu Server LTS, or CentOS, or, OpenSUSE.
Okay.
Anyways, I've always seen Arch as the same as Gentoo. When you want to learn Linux, you choose those distros. When it's time to get work done, and you need something that will be solid for years with upgrades, you use Debian or CentOS. Bring the hate, Kenneth.
I think Arch users will agree with the first part of that statement. The second part of the statement, and I'm fairly agnostic as a new Arch user, I would say that it really depends on your view, how you run your system, how you manage your packages, how you manage your updates. If you are sloppy and you don't know what you're doing, you're not paying attention, like I've done myself, I can definitely see some issues there. But I think if you're careful and you're paying attention and you're really watching your P's and Q's, I've heard of Arch users running their systems flawlessly for years.
We had a thread that were people like 4 years, 5 years, 4 years, 5 years.
Yeah, so I think once you kind of got a handle on it, you can do it for years.
I think what he's talking about is part of the picture and was also the bias that I kind of had against using Arch because I had used Gentoo and I was kind of done with that whole scene. But then I realized it's also a little bit more about control, where I've now lived in a world where my distro has been pulled out from underneath me a few times, and I don't really like some of the decisions they make, where I feel like in Arch, I choose first. I'm like, oh, they're doing that? I'm going to switch something. I feel like there's a lot finer control there. The other thing about Arch that is hugely appealing to me, especially as host of the Linux Action Show, software is extremely, extremely fresh. So yesterday, a new version of Network Manager came out, and by the end of the day, I was installing that new version of Network Manager, which happened to fix a DHCP issue I was having on my home network.
And that's a compelling moment as a new Arch user. It's kind of like, oh, hey, that appeals to me personally. That's cool.
Yeah. So there's I think like a lot of things, there's a lot of different reasons to use Arch.
I think so. And there's a lot of other reasons to use other distros. I run a multitude of distros. I still run OpenSUSE on one of my computers. I've got Ubuntu on one of my computers. Different strokes, different folks, different tasks, different distros.
Yeah.
Whatever.
All right. So I dug up GX's web-based one just so I could demo it. I'll try not to give out the URL. Sure. But here, so here you go. You start. It's a blank page, right? And I say make a new set, and let's just call it Matt's monkey suit. So that way, if you have to wear a monkey suit, I've got a soundboard with monkey sounds, right?
Yeah.
Totally. So then it or Lass is rad or something. So here's all the different sets we've made, right? And you can see each one of these is a hotkeyable.
Cool.
So
the keys are already there. You just need to assign them to.
And if I had uploaded sound files, they'd be in here, and then I would assign them to the different keys, and then I just tap that key on my keyboard. That's cool. And it's cool. So watch if I resize, they resize on the fly. So he's done a really good job.
I mean, like let's say you had an ostrich, for instance, and you want an ostrich sound, whatever that sounds like, and you've got it for you can cue these things up really cool. You can really get a mash going. That's really neat. Nicely done.
Both these guys whipped these things out in like no time. I mean, GX had that done in a matter of days. It's really awesome. Yeah. So I haven't really got a chance to play with them yet because I've been so busy. But
I'm excited for when this is public so we can share.
I'm gonna be honest with you, Matt. I'm gonna be honest with you. I am slowly trying to move every single aspect of the production to Linux, and it just seems like why not start with the low-hanging fruit, like the soundboards, and then
get that stuff taken care of.
Yeah. Before we moved to our trip to Vlogger Fair yesterday. I'll save this to the end. Let's talk about Vlogger Fair, because that's well, it's kind of all right.
Okay, why not? Let's just pull that tooth.
Let's just get it over with because I don't want to end on a sour note.
We'll end on something cool.
So we talked about Garrys Mod earlier in the show, and the developer Gary Newman came to Twitter and said, In the past week, Garrys Mod has sold 14,947 copies. Guess how many of those were bought on Linux?
Now, that's an open-ended statement. I mean, now, is he... Because, I mean, when I read this passively, because I was not familiar with the tweet initially, is he trolling? Is he making a factual statement? Is it a positive statement? You know, because I'm not really seeing context yet. So I'd be interested in where that conversation went.
Yeah.
Because that could be interpreted in a multitude of ways.
Here was his response.
Okay. Now, here we go. There's the troll.
27.
Ouch.
I'm not moaning. I didn't port it to Linux for the money. Thought people would be interested on how little the market share has right now.
Well, I would, and if I developed something, I'm trying to play devil's advocate and understand his perspective, but I think he also needs to realize that, like with any app on smartphones and whatnot, just because you build it, it doesn't mean they're going to come. A lot of people that are maybe already using it in Windows may not necessarily have a desire to run it in Linux. Now that it has been on the show and people are aware of it, and I'm sure it's going to be featured elsewhere as well, you may begin seeing those numbers rise. But I think being patient wouldn't kill you. Just saying.
Well, that's okay. So that's a great point right there. Being patient isn't going to kill him. And also, like, it's not listed on the Steam site as supporting Linux. It's not listed in the Steam store with Linux support. It hasn't on if you go to Garrys Mod website, they have download links for Mac and Windows. They don't have download links for Linux. Right. So the only place you'd know about it is if you're following the Linux gaming subreddit. That's
right. So I think, and based on that, I think realistically, if you were to reverse roles and say, let's say all your hard numbers were in Linux and you were porting this to Windows and you did exactly the same things as far as making it available and announcing it, you're still going to probably have a very low number because you did squat.
So what that 27 is that is 27 people who logged into Steam and went and bought a game that was listed as Windows compatible only to play it on Linux. Of course, that's only going to be 27 sales.
You have to market this stuff, guys. I mean, you know, that's all it is. Make some videos and, you know, get it on the show like this to, you know, get the word out.
I want to zoom out, though, because we do have a bigger problem.
Okay.
I want to ask the audience. This is a question for next week's show. We'll cover it in the feedback. There's probably, I mean, I think Matt and I have summed up why he's only sold 27 copies. Sure. But let's be honest. 27 is still extremely low.
Oh, it is.
The Ubuntu Software Center sales are like their top sales combined are just minuscule.
Right.
Steam's market share for Linux has slid for another month in a row.
Yes.
Downwards. Why do you guys think the reception to buying software on Linux and specifically Steam has been kind of lukewarm? Was it just a peak and now it's settling down? Is there something, maybe is the elephant in the room that there just aren't enough people using Linux Desktop to pay?
I would go the opposite way. I would say there's two factors that I see happening.
Well, I want them to answer.
I'm just saying. I got a couple options there. We'll revisit it next week, but I got two specific ideas that I'll share next week.
No, so. You can do.
You sure?
Okay. Go ahead. If you got it now.
Two real
you're
quick
priming
ones.
the pump. Prime the pump, Matt.
Pump has been primed. So basically it breaks down to two things. They've already got it set up on a Windows partition. I do deal with a lot of dual booters, and they really don't see a need to change. The other factor is maybe a lot of Linux folks aren't into gaming. Just putting that out there. I like to believe I'm wrong.
I wonder if that's true. Maybe the only way to find out is if people tell us. Because maybe you've switched to Linux a long time ago and you made peace with the fact that it's not a gaming platform.
That's kind of what I'm wondering, because I kind of found myself in that. I used to be hardcore into it, and then I just kind of lost interest.
Now, see, I buy games on Linux. I love that. But I could understand that. So let us know, why do you think Linux gaming seems to be lukewarm so far, even though there's been tremendous increases in support by vendors? Send that into linuxactionshow@jupiterbroadcasting.com, or hit the contact link, or even better, start a thread, and then everybody can throw their thoughts in that thread on the subreddit. All right, we went to Vlogger Fair yesterday.
Oh my goodness, yes.
And I took some pictures. Vlogger Fair here in Seattle, put on by Perillo and crew, right?
Yep, Chris Perillo.
And it's really meant for the YouTube scene.
It really was. It's really targeting folks that are excited about new ways to communicate, vlogging. Definitely a younger, hip audience.
That's me in the bathroom right there. They had really good bathrooms.
And we were trying to discern whether or not pants were a part of this picture. It's really a mystery because the flowers are covering things up, so we don't know.
There's no mystery about that.
But I took a picture of the bathroom as well. And what's funny is we both came out and we both said, hey, did you check out those bathrooms? They're crazy.
Yeah, like I took a picture.
It's like it's supposed to be like an outhouse. So it's like all fancy inside. So what the hell?
It was a good crowd. They had
oh my goodness, yes.
Okay, so my favorite thing. Let's just talk about this and then okay.
We'll
so my favorite thing about this whole thing was we went and saw our old sponsors, Loot Crate.
Yes.
And they had made the trip up by bus.
Oh, it was
and they had the bus parked in the event. So we got to go inside the Loot Crate bus. This thing is exactly what we need.
Yep.
So if anybody out there has a bus that we can use as a mobile studio, you got to let me know. And if you also want to drive it, let me know.
Yeah, this thing was great. And yeah, I was going to say there's a shot of the bus itself. They've got it full. I mean, it's fully customized. It's got tinted windows, and it's just off the chain. It's great.
It was really cool. And they took us in there, and they had a 4G wireless router set up. They had solar panels on the top.
It was awesome. I mean, it's like full power. It was so cool.
We stopped by the Parallels booth too, where they were showing off a little Ubuntu on some of their machines. Yeah,
that was cool. They're running multiple VMs at once. Yeah. Pretty slick. They got some Intel.
They have Chrome OS on there. They had Ubuntu 12.04 on there. They had Windows 7 running and Windows 8 running. All at once.
Very cool.
Neat. Parallels was proud to show that off. Intel was there showing off some of their new Ultrabooks.
Yeah.
That was nice.
That was nice. Very nice. I love the Ultrabooks.
They were running Windows 8 though.
Yeah.
And they also Intel also brought some arcades.
The retro games. You had Pac-Man. I don't remember if the other one was like Joust or something.
And they had also that blow-up couch.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Got to have a blow-up couch. That's a must. That was cool. It was a good event.
It was a good event. It was local. We ran into a viewer there and chatted with him.
Yeah, that was cool. I mean, it was just like out of nowhere. It's like Jupiter Broadcasting. I turned around. It's like, oh yeah. Cool.
It's like, what are you guys doing here? We're like, well, we're on YouTube. We can be here.
Definitely.
Come on. So, anyways, that was Vlogger Fair. It's actually going on right now.
Road trip,
as we record this. They're still doing it. It was a 2-day event. We took a little road trip down there and met people. You know, before we wrap, I also wanted to mention there was actually, I completely spaced, there was a third soundboard.
Oh, yeah.
A third soundboard created for the Linux Action Show by Covariant. He's in the chat room right now. He's also made an Arch user repo package, which I actually tried to install too. And this one is look how well done this one is. Yeah.
Oh, gorgeous.
I love the color coding because those are the color codes to me represent different types of clips.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
So that's really cool. So
like I mean, red could be like, you know.
He calls it the caster soundboard.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, isn't that is so
I am
neat.
so playing with these.
It's so cool that people have made these. Now, what would be awesome, like...
Looks like you got little sliders going on in some of them, too.
And these need to be connected to some sort of back-end web service where the community could clip parts of our show and then auto-populate the soundboard, right? And
Sound bites.
And then we sit down on Sunday of the Linux Action Show and we have a community-populated soundboard of ridiculous things we've said. That'd be very...
Oh, yeah. Chris's sound bites, my sniffs. I mean, you know, we've got it all. Telling you.
So thanks, everybody. Now I've got to sit down and play with these.
Oh,
I don't know when I'm going to see. There's the Arch user repo.
There goes the weekend.
Yeah, I know, right? This one was written in Qt.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Gosh, you guys are awesome.
That's so cool, you guys.
All right, so the Linux Action Show is live on Sundays over at jblive.tv and jblive.info. Then we're available for downloads Sunday evening, Monday mornings, depending on your time zone. We have links to everything we talked about in the show notes, all of the tools we covered, all of the stories, all of the app picks. Everything's in the show notes, so go over to jupiterbroadcasting.com, find season 27, episode 4, and you'll find all the links. Matt, what are you up to this week?
As always, you can find me at datamation.com, scroll down to open source, and as well, I'm actually wanting to give a shout out to a project.
Oh, yeah?
Let's see if it's in the show notes here. I got it.
No?
No, it should be.
Oh, if you want me to be able to click it, you got to put it in the actual
I forgot to do it there. So basically...
there's no URL.
There is no URL. That's awesome. So I will put the Facebook URL into the show notes. Yeah,
there you go. We'll have it in the show notes.
For sure. But anyway, the Timeweaver Chronicles book is basically helping fund a project put on by Ken Starks that allows people that can't afford computers to gain access to Linux computers. And it's basically a fundraising effort for that. So I will make sure that
they're giving them Linux
computers.
Well, that's awesome.
It's very cool.
Is this what you posted about on G+?
Yes, it is. Yeah, for Reglue.
There you go.
The reglue.org. Definitely want to kick down a few bucks to them. That would be awesome. So
reglue.org. A child's exposure to technology should never be predicated on the ability to afford it.
It's awesome. It's a really, really, really awesome project.
That is cool. All right, we'll have a link to that in the show notes if you guys want to check that out. All right. Well, as always, you can find me on Twitter. I'm twitter.com/ChrisLAS. That's a great way to get a hold of me. Also, G+. We have links to both our G+ profiles where we were posting some pictures from Vlogger Fair this weekend.
Goodness, yeah.
And check out Unfilter. We'll be covering the NSA prison stuff and all of that as it develops. As we get more information, we'll feature a ton of that in the Unfilter show. So if you're not already watching, that would be a good time to start. Because honestly, kind of important stuff.
Get informed.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Linux Action Show. We'll see you right back here next week. My face itches, my nose itches, I got allergies up the arse. I'm gonna barbecue some chicken tonight. Are you talking about boning?
No. I'm talking about our conversations and such. You know.